covering South Bend, Elkhart, and all of Michiana. This is ABC 57 News at 6.
You always think it's never going to be me.
Tonight, breaking news in the South Bend plane crash investigation. Within just the last hour, investigators spoke out for the first time today as ABC 57's breaking news team spent the day in the community listening to tales of survival and shock.
People were worried, though. I mean, extremely worried, but there was nothing we could do, you know.
Tonight we are learning new information about that deadly crash. Good evening, I'm Brian Dorman.
And I'm Kim Chappell. Here is the very latest. We confirmed today that Oklahoma football legend Steve Davis died when the plane hit a house on North Iowa Street in South Bend yesterday. Also killed in that crash was 58-year-old Wes Caves, the pilot. Injured in the crash were his passengers, 58-year-old Jim Rogers and 36-year-old Chris Evans. 62-year-old Diana McEwen lived at a home on North Iowa Street and was taken to the hospital from crash-related injuries. Now, within the last hour, there was a news conference on this crash, and our team of reporters is gathering the very latest for you tonight. We were first on the scene of that crash yesterday and have been your source for updates ever since. We start this hour with ABC 57's Jacqueline Kelly. She was at that news conference that just wrapped up within the last hour. Jacqueline.
Hey, Kim. Yeah, NTSB said their main focus today was to help restore power and gas to all the homes affected. That's about 77 homes. They were successful with the exception of 8 homes. Those residents still are not able to return to their homes tonight. The big news today was that the black box was recovered. It is intact and en route to Washington, D.C. to be analyzed. We know that the information from the black box won't be available for at least 9 to 12 months. We also know that the next few days, the NTSB plans to focus their attention on removing the aircraft. They plan to move it to a secure hangar here at the South Bend Airport. Today, the South Bend Fire Department helped remove parts of the home around where the jet sits. Crews were able to separate the main fuselage from the home. They expect to use a crane tomorrow to remove the rest of that aircraft, and they plan to have that all completed by the end of tomorrow. Here's what Mayor Pete Buttigieg had to say during the press conference about this whole thing and just about how amazing it is that less people were injured in this entire incident.
It is miraculous that there was not greater loss of life. The response to this has been characterized by professionalism, teamwork, and compassion. And I'm grateful to all of the mutual aid agencies.
One of the goals the South Bend Fire Department had today, along with assisting the NTSB, was to make sure the jet fuel was no longer a danger. They said at this hour it is not a danger. They have been able to remove it. There was some jet fuel in the basement of the home where it sits. They also told us that the jet fuel seeped into part of the water system and within the city of South Bend. The Public Works Department has been handling that situation. They said it's at a safe level and that it is not a concern at this time. We'll also have some more updates coming up later tonight at 10 and 11 o'clock. Reporting live from South Bend, Jacqueline Kelly, ABC 57 News.
All right, that's the latest from the airport to the neighborhood. Now tonight, most residents have been allowed to return to the neighborhood evacuated in the crash aftermath. Let's take a look at a map here together. I'll lay it out for you. The houses that you see in red. The plane marks the spot where the actual aircraft came to rest. The yellow markers here, those are the homes still under evacuation tonight. And one eyewitness was closer than most. ABC 57's Jason Aubrey joins us live from the neighborhood where he met a guy who thought for a moment his life was over. Jason.
When Brad Preston looked up and saw the plane headed right for his home, he knew there was little he could do and no time to do it. All that was left was to watch as tragedy unfolded in front of him. The jet was diving right at his home when he says it suddenly corkscrewed and veered off into the homes across the street. He tells me the plane was upside down when it struck the roof of this home, then smashed through this one, only to end up lodged inside a third. Preston says witnessing the crash is something he will never forget.
At the time it happens, you can't comprehend everything until you step back and look at it and say, wow. When I look over there at that wreckage over there, it's unbelievable what had happened.
Now, investigators examined the crash for most of the day today. At one point, they lowered a fireman down onto the body of the back of the fuselage there. They were in the process of separating the fuselage, as Jacqueline told you a few minutes ago, from the houses so that it can be removed from this area. Reporting live from South Bend, Jason Aubrey, ABC 57 News.
Now, the woman who experienced that two-engine jet smash right through her home talked to us again tonight. This time, she shared her memories about the crash and the shock of seeing her house today. ABC 57's Jillian Mahan joins us live from Iowa Street. Jillian, how is that woman doing today?
Well, she's staying at a nearby hotel and has been working with her insurance company, but she says she is still in disbelief and just can't understand how she and her 6-year-old son managed to make it out of the house unharmed.
All of a sudden I hear like this loud explosion type sound. My first instinct was to run out and find out where my son was at.
This is what remains of the house where Patricia Kowalski and her 6-year-old son Dominic lived just over 24 hours ago.
I turned to look in the kitchen and then I saw rubble and stuff in the kitchen and I thought maybe he was in there, and then I heard him. So I turned real quick and grabbed him and we ran out.
It wasn't until Kowalski ran out of her home and saw the wing of the plane stuck in her roof that she realized what had happened. Now, after seeing her house today, the shock is just as fresh.
I still haven't processed it, actually. I'm watching them tear the roof off, and it's like, that's my house, you know. I still can't. I'm thinking, when am I going to get to go back home? And it's like, I don't have a home, really.
Despite the devastating loss of her home and many of her belongings, Kowalski is still grateful.
Just glad that somebody was watching over us. Watching over him mostly, because I mean, if it would have been the impact would have been a little bit harder or at a different angle, he might not be here.
Kowalski says officials are not sure of the extent of the damage at this point, but they say that much of the jet fuel has soaked into the house. So right now, Kowalski is afraid that she will not be able to get most of her belongings out of the home. Reporting live from South Bend, Jillian Mahan, ABC 57 News.
Quite a story there of survival, and today we wanted to learn more about the passengers that were on that plane. We confirmed today that Oklahoma football legend Steve Davis died when the plane hit a house on North Iowa Street. ABC 57's Emily Pritchard has spent the day talking to people in Tulsa who know the victims, including Davis. Emily joins us now live in the ABC 57 studio.
Well, at 5, we dove into the 3 others on the plane. One, a retired firefighter in Tulsa that's at Memorial Hospital tonight, along with another 36-year-old man. Now another one who passed away, whose daughter overcame a rare neurological disease. But the most well-known was former Oklahoma Sooner Steve Davis. Today, I did a Skype interview with his pastor and friend.
Steve Davis, he's known as Oklahoma's number 5, but for the people who knew him, like his pastor Darren Spoo, he was much more than his jersey.
You know, the thing about Steve is he's so authentic, very, very genuine. And what he made clear from the very beginning is the most important thing about him was not his football career. The most important thing really was his relationship with God and his relationship with Christ.
Davis was one of 4 flying on a plane that crashed Sunday in South Bend. And Spoo says he met Davis about 5 years ago. He never had a conversation about flying with Davis, but he's learned since it was his passion.
That's more what I picked up from the family, that he loved flying every chance that he got to do that.
Here you can see Davis in an interview just 5 months ago with our ABC affiliate in Tulsa.
The Boomer. Sooner.
He helped lead the Sooners to 2 national championships in the 70s. And here you can hear him talking about a historic battle against Texas.
And sometimes you just expect, you expect one thing and the very opposite happens. That's a game that tends to turn stars into goats and unknowns into legends.
Legend at OU, he is and will stay. But at the end of the day, Spoo says it wasn't his football career or almost perfect record of 32-1-1 as a starter that defines his friend, but his spirit.
The predominant emotion is shock, but the number one thing that everyone tells me when they talk about Steve is what an encourager that he was.
Now, there's no schedule yet for funeral arrangements for Davis, but Spoo tells me that many people are reaching out in the Tulsa and Sooner community with their support. Reporting live in studio, Emily Pritchard, ABC 57 News.
And 3 of the surviving victims were rushed to Memorial Hospital. They arrived just about a half hour after that plane crash. ABC 57's Judy Lykowski joins us live outside of that hospital with the very latest on all 3 of their conditions tonight. Judy.
Well, Kim, we're told that all 3 of their conditions have not improved since yesterday when they were rushed here by ambulance. However, hospital staff says that all 3 of these victims' injuries are not life-threatening either. Now, a Memorial Hospital spokesperson says right around 5 o'clock Sunday evening, separate ambulances rushed with these victims to the hospital. All 3, she says, were taken to the ER, then straight to the trauma unit. Now, the trauma services director says all 3 victims should have had to be transferred to another hospital out of the immediate area if their trauma unit didn't exist. And that would have meant more time wasted before treatment started. Memorial is considered the only trauma unit in this region.
As stressful as it was for the staff, we had plenty of resources to treat these patients, plus any others that came through our doors.
Jim Rogers remains in serious condition. Christopher Evans remains in fair condition, and Diana McEwen remains in fair condition as well.
Now, Rogers and Evans, who were on the plane when it went down, currently live in Oklahoma. We're told that their families are still on their way to this hospital tonight. Reporting live in South Bend, Judy Lykowski, ABC 57 News.
And we've been doing a lot of research on the type of aircraft that crashed. It is a Hawker Beechcraft Premier 1. The plane that crashed was built in 2008. As far as planes go, it was state-of-the-art. It is designed to be flown by a single pilot, but can also accommodate a co-pilot.
So the flight instruments are displayed on 2 monitors in the cockpit, and the aircraft is very well adapted. It has a good safety record for an aircraft of its category and class, so there's nothing unusual there.
There aren't many planes like it here in our area. We checked the Elkhart, Goshen, and South Bend airports, and not one of them had an aircraft like it for us to take a look at today. Now, ABC 57's coverage of this breaking story will continue tonight. We have crews working on this for 10 and 11. They will show you what it's like to be in that neighborhood after nightfall. We will continue to have the very latest here on air, online on abc57.com, on Facebook and Twitter.
We are also following a number of other stories here tonight, including the official installation of a new pope. Just ahead, the new controversy surrounding the pope and the meeting that he had with one of his critics.
Plus, Hillary Clinton makes an announcement that could hint at a presidential run. What she had to say about gay marriage.
And a big matchup on the ice for Notre Dame, who they'll face in Detroit this weekend.
Temperatures only getting colder, rain changing back to snow, tracking that, and looks like a cold midweek in your ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Forecast.